Hello, Delegate Hough here, and today the Maryland House Judiciary Committee voted on Governor Martin O'Malley's death penalty repeal bill. Now, before we passed this piece of legislation, Maryland had one of the most strictest death penalty laws in the nation. In order to become eligible for the death penalty in Maryland, you had to have a videotaped confession and DNA evidence of the crime. And I was comfortable with this law, and I thought Maryland's current law was adequate in order to protect innocent human life, to make sure that somebody who is wrongly convicted would not become subject to the death penalty. But as the hearing went forward, I made sure to listen to all sides, and I took a very thoughtful and prayerful decision before I voted on this legislation. As somebody who's pro-life and who also believes in limited government, I wanted to make sure that we were doing the right things when we talk about the government taking somebody's life. And in the conclusion of looking at it, though, as a Catholic, I can tell you, I read the catechism on this, and I want to read from you real quickly what this says. I think whether you're Catholic or not, I think it has a very interesting moral message about death penalty and punishment. Assuming that the guilty party's identity and responsibility have been fully determined, the traditional teaching of the Church does not exclude recourse to the death penalty if this is the only possible way of effectively defending human life against the unjust aggressor. So looking at this, I don't think a good reason for the death penalty is for vengeance, and I find it questionable whether it's a good deterrent or not. But a good reason for keeping it is for public safety. If there are certain individuals who are just quite frankly evil, and in my opinion, we cannot keep them safely. So I offered an amendment that said that if somebody who's serving in prison for life imprisonment already, basically we have punished them to the full extent of the law, and then they go and kill an inmate or a correctional guard, at that point, then we should punish them with the death penalty, because it is the only way to protect life inside the prison. If these are the people that we've already, as I said, punished them to the full extent of the law. And we had a correctional guard come down who gave very emotional testimony about this. He drove down. This was not from the Correctional Guard Union. This was not from the department. This was just one average person who came in and said this was going to make his life more dangerous. And I believe that. And I think it fits in with the teachings of my church. And I think it was the best vote to keep our society safe. So unfortunately, my amendment was defeated, as were a number of amendments. Amendments to keep the death penalty for someone who does heinous crimes like murdering children, who commits murder on school grounds, for acts of terrorism. And so because the Democrat Party down here in Annapolis made a decision to do an all-or-nothing repeal of the death penalty, I felt that was the wrong way to go, and I felt it will negatively impact public safety in Maryland. And for those reasons, I voted against the death penalty, against the death penalty repeal. But with that being said, I will say that I gave it full consideration. I was thoughtful on the matter, and there was an outpouring in my office of people who were opposed to the death penalty. We heard far more from people who were opposed to keeping the death penalty than otherwise. But at this time, I didn't feel that that was an appropriate vote. And again, I don't feel that our society is better off served by completely eliminating death penalty in every possible circumstance. So until next week, have a blessed week.